Let this be the game to do it, Roodood. Let this be the game to restore our faith as we are into the pick and ban pretty darn quickly. Varus and, of course, the Yunara taken away, although I am surprised to see BLG banning Yunara.
Yeah, so Photic getting a little bit targeted here in the draft. Corki, one of these big AD carries that we do still see up and available, but Orianna taken off the board is very nice. Nico still a pick that is open here, so we'll see if either of these teams look to pick that up. For me, this is a first pick champion that you can take really without any concerns, but it is going to be Jun locking in the Xin Zhao. We can see him very happy there on the player cams to get this pick in his back pocket. I don't know that this is a higher priority pick than the Nico though, and I would be very surprised to see Jwei leave this going through.
No reason not to lock in something so powerful, though you have to imagine that BLG saw this coming and have an answer to it. I do think that the Xin Zhao is especially powerful right now, and so it's understandable that you'd want to give that tool over to Xun, but still doesn't feel good to give Jwei, especially when it's his job to make sure that Photic is alive, a really potent tool to do so. Photic going to be all the much safer. Perhaps an equalizer changing that a bit.
Oh yeah, and I mean we come from the CB LOL here, so Rumble is like B1 every game, or the first pick every single game. So we're used to seeing this pick get taken much earlier on in these drafts. Maybe an Ambessa comes through here for Soboro, and maybe something that can answer this Rumble a little bit. That's the typical response that we see. But I'm very surprised that BLG really prioritized this Rise early on. Was expecting, like you mentioned, that if they'd got this Nico that they knew they'd be letting through, they would be looking for a support counter pick. We frequently see things like Ezreal Karma start to come through and something that can bully the Nico in the laning phase. But this now gives IG an opportunity to ban that out, so you can maybe look for an enchanter to get taken off of the board here, and something that On wouldn't have access to had he, or that doesn't have access to, given he didn't take it in the first three.
Yeah, and I mean, pretty powerful top sides locked in as well, with the Ambessa and the Pantheon likely taking their respective places up there. The Rumble and Xin Zhao as well. I really like Rise when paired with the Xin Zhao. Taking away the Ashe, also notably by IG, is going to deny a very potent combination. Viper's been deadly on the Ashe, and the fact that Seraphine is still up as well, you have to take that combo off the board.
Yeah, excellent. And they've already played it once, right? This Ashe Seraphine duo, so it makes sense that they've done their homework here, and they've made sure that they get rid of that pick. Love the Syndra ban here for, or by BLG, getting Rookie off of that pick. It's a pick that he's played quite a lot already, and it also does very well into Rise. We're looking at things mid counters like the Cassiopeia. Maybe we get to see the Rookie Anivia come through, a pick that we've seen largely, I'd say controversial. I don't think it's had too much success in the LPL, but definitely something that, you know, as you see, gets taken off the board, and now just leaves Cassiopeia as an answer for Rookie if he wants to take that pick into the Rise.
Things like Misfortune, Corki still available. The Cassiopeia that you talked about, though, definitely a consideration.
And in that bot lane, we've not taken any of our marksmen just yet. Looking at the identities for Invictus Gaming, I think this Galio fits with what they've got already drafted a little bit more than that Cassio did. They've got 5 divers already locked, or 4 divers locked on in. This Kai'Sa priority now in this final game, or in this first game, definitely increasing, and I would be very surprised if we don't see Photic go towards that dive style marksman and really look to have a good time at things. I like that they've saved their AD carry though, because if you lock in something like a Caitlyn Nami here, going Kai'Sa is just suicide. So you kind of need to see what's on the board, and this can really start to thwart some of the ideas of IG. Instead, they're going for a little bit more team fight cohesion here. Siva Lulu to round out their bot lane, and this is a Kai'Sa angle if I ever saw one. It's definitely possible to take this pick, to dive into the back line, and yes, you're going to have to fear polymorph, but you've got 5 people all diving with you. You can't polymorph all of them.
It seems like a game that is set up for Photic to go off on Kai'Sa. With the especially Galio and Nico combination, the idea is that nobody really should be able to fire back at Photic because they're so busy dealing with everyone else. And on the other side, BLG definitely taking notes after yesterday's series against Top Esports. Viper locking in the very same pick that Jackie defeated them with, and hopefully turning that around, especially with the backup of a Lulu. This is a powerful composition by BLG as well.
I mean, you said that or BLG rather, struggled with getting access, right? Well, this time around, they're the ones that have got to deal with trying to be accessed in this game. IG with this very dive-oriented composition, and BLG with effectively a Lulu and a Crescent Guard to try to peel them. Isn't the largest set of tools that we've seen in the world, but BLG going to have to try to play to them, as they have effectively got, you know, triple carry lanes. They've got the Xin Zhao here to try and bridge them into that late game. And I think if they can get there, they should be okay. I think this IG composition does need to get the ball rolling a little bit earlier on. If you fall behind as this type of composition, you are just going to end up trying to engage, immediately dying, and then the game gets harder and harder.
I'm thinking about lane push as well for both of these teams, especially around early objectives and top side. Rumble actually may have a decent time accessing the Void Grubs. I like Ryze in the mid lane a lot, especially when compared with the Galio, but once level 6s happen for the side of IG, so much gets unlocked, especially with the Grand Starfall and Heroic Entrance combination. If you want, you can get anywhere on the map extremely quickly, and so up until level 6, IG may have a little bit more of a difficult time, but post then, it is their plays to make.
Good set of gyos from the fans. Typically get these quite a lot in Ascend. Taking a quick look at our rune choices here. No surprises particularly. Cashback for both marksmen. Importantly, cashback in the jungle as well for Jwei here. He's going to look to try and be quite a proactive jungler on the Pantheon, you'd like to think, as moving through this early game, all eyes going to be on those two. Again, for me, the point of the map where IG have looked the best is Jwei, where he's been able to find leads, find proactivity on the map. IG typically tend to succeed there, but not too much of it has come thus far in Split 1, as we can see already Knight giving Rookie a tough time in this mid lane.
The Ryze Galio matchup, especially early on, is going to lean towards Knight having a little bit more autonomy on the map, especially when it comes to the combination with his jungler, Viper and On. Also, feeling pretty good about themselves in the bot lane. Viper and On, a pretty potent combination as well. It's not often that I'm praising On when he is put with enchanters, but really avoiding saying on enchanters when he's put with enchanters, but in this particular series, it does just seem like a really good combination with the Sivir if you want to make a endgame Sivir a terrifying possibility. Rookie surely lives.
Okay. Didn't quite have the mana, he missed the Q, and I don't think he's ever really going to be able to find damage there, but he's looking to get Prio as Jwei is being challenged in his bot side jungle. That early 2v2 and the double combat summoners going the way of BLG is going to give them a good amount of push. The Civ are obviously going to be able to control that laning phase very well through the early stages of this game, and Jwei isn't finished here. He wants to try to contest with this, but first move early on is from the Lulu. It's going to make their life difficult as IG to try and contest this.
You just can't step up to this. Jwei's going to go for it, and flashes for the smite, stealing that big. Losing 2 summoners, also big.
Yeah, and we'll see maybe if BLG look to punish that a little bit later. I mean, if I'm on there, I'm a little bit disappointed that my move didn't really work out. Could have been looking to pressure that bot side a little bit more, but equally, might have liked to see On just walk forward and try and take the fight to Jwei a little bit, make that that pressure really be felt in that bot side jungle. But Flash Burn and Jwei able to get himself a recall, finds a longsword, and that's about all he's going to get for the time being. Nevermind picks up a Ruby Crystal and is actually not too hard done by as he does get his full clear completed. But again, I do think that the emphasis is on IG in this early game to make something happen. The later this game goes, I think the more difficult that it is going to be for them, as I expect to see them struggle their way through any engages as this game gets later. And if they aren't ahead even, will be a problem.
It is telling, and I'd even go so far as to say impressive as well, that Jwei is willing to invest both summoners early on. When you've illustrated him as being a player that typically is gathering leads for the team, he's also willing to sacrifice a lot on Pantheon pre-6 to make certain that he does not fall behind.
And I think that cashback rune is really indicative for me of him looking to be a focal point of this composition, a true carry of this composition. Because you wouldn't look for all of that extra gold if you weren't looking to be sort of this massive carry if you're planning on sacrificing camps as we move later and later on into this game. And
Soboro! Sometimes you just get cooked, and I don't think he even saw that damage coming.
No, and you know what? To go back a little bit, dear, to one of our Demacia Cups, sometimes you just got to flash on him, and in that case, Bin just did.
Real ones know. Real ones know that sometimes you just got to flash, and with Jwei actually making a small invade work here, there's a really good news story for IG if they're able to get out of this. Unfortunately, 4 members of BLG and an equalizer have all shown up. Jwei, no way out of this, is going to be cooked alive. Bin collecting that kill as well, going up 2-0 on the Rumble.
But remember, he did get his red buff with his flash, so worth. And that's what Jwei will be saying to himself right now, is that I didn't have flash for this invade, but I did get my red buff 2 minutes ago, and that's what was important. The mental damage will not have been inflicted. Bin, though, he gets to go back to base, and he gets the mammoth buy-in damage of plated steel caps to make sure that he never dies versus Soboro. And I think the plated steel caps this game obviously going to have an insane amount of power through the laning phase. Because he's playing up against Ambessa with any ganks coming through from a Pantheon. That's a lot of physical damage. The damage from a Galio later on in the game, not something that we are expecting to be a problem, as June now down on the spot side.
This is a problem. Viper and On already all over this, and Shun with the knockup will secure a kill onto Photic. The guy who needs to go off for IG has just been taken out at 5 minutes.
Yeah, and again, right, dying with barrier up, you can argue whether or not he knows that he's going to die as soon as that... as soon as he's been connected on by the Xin Zhao, or is he just not using that summoner spell for a different reason? And we'll keep our eyes on whether or not that gets any value later on, but might have been able to walk his way out to safety. Viper still having flash, though, probably means that he'll just get flashed on anyway underneath that turret, so Photic able to save one of his summoner spells, ends up falling anyway, and he's now in a very sad situation in this bot lane. This is not a set of items you want to go back to combat a Sivir with. In the laning phase, a recurve bow, an extra dagger, and a cull. This is homeless Kai'Sa territory. I'm going to be honest.
It's not fun. However, good news story in a way for IG. They're not too far behind by the 7-minute mark, although it isn't ideal. But hitting 6s just around now does change the way this composition works. Jwei has just ticked over to level 6, unlocking Grand Starfall, and his ganks with this ult could change this entire game.
Yeah, I mean, Bin flashed top lane to try and find that solo kill, successfully even find that solo kill, but that's a top laner who's immobile, who has no flash, and very real possibility that you can get a gank going on that top side. You can see Rookie pathing up towards this top lane as well. I think this ward here doing a lot of work. We'll see, are they going to look for Knight in the mid lane? The guy with Ghost, Flash, and ulti. And Ghost even, so, you know, this is a difficult place to try and make something stick. Looks like it's going to be a recall or a walk down toward bot side.
He's just finished clearing his top side, which is a little bit awkward as Void Grubs are about to spawn. Dragon's been up for a while, neither team really prioritizing that in any meaningful way. We didn't see On or Jwei go for back timings to secure additional wards. Instead, everybody's got a control ward on it, and realistically, we'll be splitting these objectives in a few minutes as Void Grubs now spawn, and that becomes a possibility.
With a 2-0 Rumble, you'd like to think that BLG will be able to take anything on the top side that they so desire, with Viper having that early kill as well down in the bot lane. You'd think that, honestly, with the way these side lanes are going, BLG are in a very good spot, but we'll keep our eyes out as Bin is actually looking to defend his pink. I like this a lot. Defend your vision when you are this far ahead, but it could be that defense of a ward that baits him into his ultimate demise with no flash.
Like you talked about, the immobile Bin not having a whole lot of ways out, does have an equalizer to change things a bit, but that damage, nothing compared to what Soboro and Jwei are laying down on top of him. It is a kill for Jwei, and off the first ultimate, that is a good news sign for IG.
Yeah, Equalizer could have probably done a little bit more there, I'm going to be honest. Just kind of cuts off one of their small one of their small avenues in, but, you know, first blood for IG this time round being picked up, and Jwei going to be able to secure himself some grubs off the back of that. I don't know if he's going to get all 3 of them. Looks like June's quite happy to give it up, even though this is on Vision. That's probably exactly what Soboro needed here, as he's going to go back to base, maybe even able to finish up his Eclipse here. No early pit stop into the Hex Drinker for the Ambessa. No boots either means that she can go very quickly into that first item and maybe start to turn this laning phase right back around.
Despite the lead that Bin had in topside, though, losing the Void Grubs is a bit tough for BLG. The Dragon, not a bad thing to get in trade, but you would have certainly liked to leverage your Rumble, and that is going to be a point of focus for BLG in this game. Can they take the early lead that Bin managed to gather and turn it into something, or will it just be Jwei perma-ganking this lane?
And I'd honestly, I'd like to see the latter, to be honest. I mean, like, this guy has immobility, let's say, right? Yes, he's now got his flashback up and available, but I do think that's a much easier avenue to find success in versus Phase Rush, Ghost Rise, and Cleanse ulti, Sivir, Lulu in the back pocket, right? Like, just this Rumble is ultimately the more sitting duck of the two, so, or of the three lanes to try to approach. But as we're looking a little bit further forward, obviously, with those neutral objectives being split, as you've highlighted, good for Invictus Gaming to get a little bit of something in their back pocket. They're going to need to start putting some good use to those grubs, though, and with that, it means that they need to start trying to find more ganks. And Jwei's ulti about 3/4 of the way up off cooldown. We can expect in another 30 seconds that he'll be starfalling into another lane. But there's not really been a lot of volatility through this early game. It's not really been laners scrapping, going blow for blow here. This Jwei
Let's force the flash out of On. Not a bad thing, but not an incredible.
Guess where
amount
Jwei's
of profit
ganking
either.
next, you know?
Yeah.
That's what they needed. And now another invade coming in for Jun. I'm not sure how I feel about
I've seen
this.
this trade before. Remember last time anybody tried to invade the Raptors, it went very poorly for them. So right now, Jun up 1-0 on Raptor invades.
Yeah, didn't die. Jwei did obviously find the smite, but I want to highlight this, that Jwei so far 3 for 3 in terms of those smite fights, with a 2 around Raptors, 1 around the red buff, and Photic scouts out Jun being here. I don't know if he's going to be able to do anything about it. He's just kind of standing quite aggressively, but he's waiting and praying that his bot lane can get here in time. And it looks like Jwei will be able to get in. Obviously, Grand Starfall from Jwei was available if they looked to go for that dive, but Viper and On here doing a lot of damage underneath this turret. You can see Viper posturing very aggressively with this completed Essence Reaver. Kai'Sa still in depression territory, not having finished a Kraken yet, and hopefully at some stage that'll come through, but this bot lane is very much rule the roost for Viper. 1,300 gold, now the lead, and that snowball from just that early one gank is really starting to be felt.
It is really good for BLG fans, though, to see Viper playing this confidently. Yesterday on the Kalista went off, and this time forcing a barrier out of Photic under the tower. This is an IG bot lane that is suffering right now, and likely going to turn into a pretty quick tower for BLG. A great injection of gold, and look towards the top side. Jwei wants to punish that.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to take the full turret unless they overcommit and slightly ruin their tempo. Probably just going to be able to take an extra plate recall. And honestly, if I'm BLG here, I want to lock this Kai'Sa in the laning phase. She's struggling really heavily. I break that lane open and I start struggling a little bit in terms of punishing her. Jun here, though, does secure his Raptors. Is going to come at the cost of his red buff. I think that's overall a pretty decent trade. Like I say, Photic feeling very, very hard done by right now. And those leads in the laning phases are starting to creep in as well. Not just the advantage for the Sivir, but the one for the Rise also.
Bin's popping up to the top side. Soboro
Great
low
side.
and without a back. Bin has just completed his Liandry's, and Soboro is burning down. Equalizer slows him a little bit more, and Bin once again flashes on him to secure the kill. But this time, Jwei and Jwei are both here. We've got Rookie up in the top side as well, ready to answer back for his top laner. Jwei collects another kill on Bin, and it's 1 for 1.
And Jun just went, sorry, buddy, you are dead. And there's nothing really that I can do about it. Watches him die, and they do find a quick kill, 1 for 1. A lot expended, though, by IG. A really good Crescent Guard from Jun to stop the Nico ulti. Really good response on the bot side of the map for Knight, as that gold lead in the mid lane was 500 just a minute ago, now up to 1,200. And overall, the net gain for these two teams is just so massively favourable for BLG.
Yeah, despite the fact that just by the numbers it is 1 for 1 on the top side, you pull so many people from IG up towards there that you also get most of the turret in mid, you secure the turret in bot lane, and your entire team is now positioned with priority around the bottom side of the map with a dragon available. BLG may lose their top side tower, but these last couple of minutes have been very, very good for them.
Yeah, and BLG are going to take this tier 1 turret in the mid lane as well. Brute forced it down, and Photic is really struggling on this Kai'Sa. Definitely not after that early gank being able to make too much happen down on this bot side. And you know, the Nico Kai'Sa, it's got a real lethal 2 versus 2 if you can get on top of one target, CC them, isolate them and take them down. But it's just not been the case. Jun with that early gank has just completely put any chances of that in the dirt. And it's good to see that Viper and On have been able to snowball that here. 2,500, 3,000 gold lead overall for BLG. IG, I feel like this last-ditch Hail Mary to try and get this Rift Herald, but they're being niced a little bit by BLG here. As you can see, Jun 2 levels up, not really looking to contest it.
It's a strange thing to say in this state of the game, as Rift Herald is going to go down. Viper actually denying the pickup of the Rift Herald. IG need to find a way to get into the pit, because BLG right now may have let the objective go down, but they are not letting IG actually collect it.
Well, that just means that IG spent a lot of time hitting a big turtle and didn't get to do anything with it. So that's unlucky for them. But now BLG,
oh no,
they want more than just the stopping of the Rift Herald pickup. They want to try and take this tier 1 turret, and they're 5 people up here.
This could be really bad. Soboro and Rookie both stepping up, though incredibly difficult to dive, and BLG will respect that. They back away, knowing that they got a wave crash. They denied the Rift Herald.
There's been no.
I mean, Knight certainly knows. Brand Starfall, though, is going to still be a numbers advantage for IG. Not much the Finn can do. He will go down. IG reversing their fortune.
Hey man, that's a really good play by Jwei. Really well timed as well, sort of stops a lot of the momentum that BLG were picking up. They're able to take down Bin again on this top side, and you know, the Rumble with the majority of the kills in this game for BLG just gets slowed down that little bit further. Currently the only person on his team to have died, and I said this at the start of the game, you know, if I want to see you focus anywhere on the map, let's just stay taking out this top lane, and there's nothing that a Rumble can do if he gets overcommitted on by enemy players. There's just too many people being there. He's just going to fall.
And that focus right now, not really working in the favor of BLG. There are situations where a top laner who is drawing a lot of attention like that can work for the team, but with all of BLG crowded around the map up top side the way that they were, doesn't work out as well for them in this case. We'll see how that changes in the next couple of minutes, as the problem that has really yet to become one in the team fights is Viper. He's been incredibly dominant in the lane phase, but at some point, this Sivir is going to become a team fight monster, and it's going to feel like she was there all along.
Yeah, and I am a little bit worried for Invictus Gaming here. It's all good flash from Knight, burns the Ghost as well, which you didn't think he was going to get his flash out of there in time, but double summoners by Soboro, and he doesn't even have to commit to the rise there, so that actually feels pretty darn good as the Ambessa to get one for simply your ulti. But as we look into those mid to late game team fights, you know, Sivir, what's the threat on her? Well, there's quite a significant amount of threat in fairness, but she's far enough ahead of the curve that maybe she can just sort of face tank and out DPS through with Lulu ulti, with the shields coming on through as well. Hasn't been challenged, has now got tier 2 boots finished and 2 full items in her back pocket, so working her way towards that Infinity Edge, you'd like to think on third item is going to be that break point where we look at the timers as well, dear. 90 seconds on that Hextech Dragon. It's a good roll for BLG with that Hextech Soul, and it does mean that they're going to be in a very good position with those 2 early Dragons to find that early win condition and start to roll over Invictus Gaming even more in those 5v5s.
And just like you're talking about with access to Viper on Sivir, this is where having a top laner who's pulling an incredible amount of aggro can be huge for BLG. We have to watch whether IG is burning their engage tools on Viper or on Bin. And right now, it's BLG burning the engage tools, even with Jwei finding a Pop Blossom onto 2 people. BLG face tank it all, walk through the jungle, and are looking for even more. Should actually find Soboro. Equalizer goes down on him, forcing a flash out of the Ambessa.
Yet importantly, neither of those two targets that got hit by the Pot Blossom were Viper. He's constantly free hitting, he's upping DPS the entire time and doesn't really need to feel too scared. The only thing that he's taken damage from so far has been turrets. That is going to be the reason that they have to back away a little bit there. I think he took 3 turret shots with one off the back end of that as well. But it's a really good look so far for BLG. We asked for this coming into the day, coming into this matchup, that they needed to be able to consistently and firmly stomp on the faces of Invictus Gaming. Game number 1, they've started out doing that, and that has honestly been the story for BLG, that they've been this team who are dominant in the early game, but that haven't been able to finish or round out their series. Game number 1 looks good, but we can't fall into the trap of being hopeful for them yet.
Yeah, this is, we'll take the wins where we can get them, and BLG do need to close out this game. If for whatever 40 champions, 20, no,
Wait.
80 champions, 80 champions.
Wait. Come back to me, dear. Wait.
Is he not going to pick up the red buff?
What?
There's no
this
way.
Is wild.
There's no way.
Our solution to this was not to give you the red buff, but to say, "Hey, buddy, you get your red buff later." That's so wild. Wait, he's walking over it. Observers, I don't care about the dragon. Oh, yeah, they just said unlucky, bro.
You know what? Okay.
Yeah, good. Good. Yeah. Okay, we're going back in. Okay.
All right, well, Jwei's got no red buff, and he's got no dragon, and he may soon have no top laner. Soboro, this is like a half engage. On's over here. Bin's fighting Jwei on the side. It is chaos, but the most important part of that chaos is that Viper is dead. Equalizer does go down as Knight chooses to follow up Jwei, who's on red buff level HP and will end up falling. And ultimately, despite losing Viper, BLG, they get the dragon, they get the team fight. They're still feeling good.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Rookie gets out here. I think we're having a few difficulties on the prod end. I've got a frozen screen right now. Ultimately, the admins went, yeah, you're not getting a red buff, and that's quite sad. To end our legacy, that Jwei didn't get a red buff for that. He decided, actually, I'll just play the game without it. It feels like they had to go, well, you're either having to wait us remake to this game that you're definitely going to lose, or you can just accept that you're not getting a red buff. And he went, okay, well, I guess I'll just take no red buff.
Yeah, I think it's the correct call, especially watching how that team fight went. As chaotic as it was, from a results-based perspective, it is basically the best team fight that IG could have hoped for, because and only because they killed Viper. And even with that, they didn't win it.
No, they did not. And now Soboro in trouble as well. Knocked up. Should be dead.
Yeah, we just used that equalizer.
Yeah, pretty sure we did. But we can use it again. You know, it's,
why not?
It's a pretty short cooldown. That was the other anti-compensation. Is now Jwei maybe in trouble.
No cooldown equalizer for the rest of the game. It's actually coded the same as red buff, turns out. Shun is going to fall in trade. However, with Viper collecting a double kill, and most importantly, one of those being Photic, we are again trading up as BLG, and their dominance in this match continues, with second turret going to fall in the mid lane, and not much that can go wrong for this squad.
I feel good about my analysis of this game that we had in the little pause that we had there. And I said this game was over. This is pretty much cemented it. Provided BLG can actually close this game out, they're gonna be very happy with how game 1 has gone. Been pretty dominant. Bin's had a couple of oopsie moments in the top side, but overall it's been very well played. And so far, I think. Oh wait, we need to see now. Test Jun, run Jun to the blue buff, please. Can you pick this up?
Wait.
Oh, hold on. We're killing on instead.
Yeah,
that's good.
Plus 400. Not bad, not bad. Jwei may not get a red buff, but 400 gold.
Viper got his red buff? That's crazy.
That is crazy. Shun, so close to picking up the blue. It's just one river away, one Baron away as well. A objective that IG, I was going to say, are not seriously considering, but they are seriously considering it.
This. They have to do this. The game doesn't get any better flip it. You've got a 4 versus 5 on the map. Let's try.
This equalizer is going to cook, bro. This equalizer is going to lay. And Jwei up through the backside does actually find Viper. This is an assassination in a fight that is not going altogether well for BLG. Rookie's isolated June in the pit. Sub 1,000, and he will still secure the Baron. A triple kill for Knight as well. And BLG, despite losing Viper in 2 fights, won both fights. And this time, take the Baron with it.
And it's all because of that man in the mid lane that you highlighted at the start of the show, dear. Knight just popping off. He was unchecked, untouched, and felt no pressure whatsoever. Comes out of that team fight full HP with a triple kill and a Baron on his back. Walks it down mid lane, going to be able to take away some camps as well. And BLG thwart the efforts of IG. I respect them for going for it. They kind of needed to. They didn't really have any other way back into this game other than a good old flip. But as soon as they go in here, Photic does his best to get out to safety, but he just gets one-tapped by Knight. On the backside of the fight as well, Bin is just roasting way over the wall. Equalizer on one side, Flamesplitter from the other, and then he walks around to finish off the support.
This was crazy. I can't believe that he managed to secure that Baron as well. I was so sure that Zun was going to die, and then he just lived through the actual whole thing and ends up just fine. Baron buff in tow, everything.
Yeah, and I mean, the power of, I guess, fully stacked Conqueror, a little bit of Sundered Sky action, is that he's able to get back up to full HP as well. Rookie forced to Justice Punch his way out of there, but any form of defense here, very hard.
That infinite equalizer coming back online again. Jwei will fall. And IG relegated to their base, but with a Baron buff at their doors and a wave soon crashing in mid lane, this will not be the only inhibitor tower that they lose. BLG confidently stepping up to this one with another wave on the way.
Yeah, one more wave needed. I mean, even just Knight on his own will probably be able to take this without any recompense. And you would expect to see BLG here close this game out on this Baron. Going for another send, though.
This time not onto Viper, however, as it is Knight that is getting flashed on and focused down. Viper able to free fire and chewing through Rookie, turns around to peel for his mid laner. Viper moving on forward and collecting a double kill. This is the unlocked Sivir that we have been so scared of the whole game.
And now we see why IG focused the Sivir, because she doesn't have 1,000 HP shield plus an extra 1,000 base HP. They're living the Nexus turrets though, dear, and I think they want this game one to be signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, they've taken enough pauses. It's been long enough. They've waited, and BLG, I will say, having a little bit of fun to collect the last couple of kills, as it will be another one over to Viper in revenge for the amount of times he was focused down. But more importantly, BLG, they set themselves up right to take another series up against IG. We do still have theoretically 2 games left, but this was a convincing one from BLG.
Yeah. A 13.5 thousand gold lead to end the game is not the heights that we typically see, normally somewhere in the regions of 10, but 13,000 is certainly quite extravagant and quite significant as well. A very well played game number 1 by Bilibili Gaming. They'll be very happy that they got that one on the books, and I think that they need to find a second one. Again, our expectation for this team, based on how they played the first 4 sets, is that they should just be taking this series in that fashion, okay? They need to beat IG once like that. They've done it. Now they need to do it again and to sort of try and restore any form of hope and prayer to us that they are a team that can make those plays on the domestic level, because there have been a lot of shaky moments in the most recent week. So they need to assuage some of those problems and make people confident once again to believe in them.
And it was nice to see the way that they turned the question around from their last series up against Top Esports as well. You mentioned this in the pregame, but instead of asking, how can we access your AD carry, BLG posed that same question to IG. They said, how can you access ours? And, well, IG did actually compositionally and in actual fact find some answers to that. By the end of the game, it was so incredibly difficult to actually win a fight as IG, because whether you were on top of Viper or not, the amount of gold that was free firing back at you was simply too much.
Yeah, it really sort of hammered home why this composition needed to succeed early on, because if you didn't get that early burst onto one person, the other one was always going to rip through you. Now, if you one-shot the Sivir, you can turn all of your attention back to the Rise and hopefully begin to put a little bit of a dent into his HP bar as well and make, you know, Knight feel a little bit worried. But the fact that it takes so long to get through just one member gives all the time in the world for somebody else to do the damage, and that's exactly what we got to see here. It was a very well played game by BLG, just sort of recognizing the strengths of their composition, the pitfalls in IGs.
Yeah, and you know, very, very happy we got Bin playing this week, because Rumble up in the top side did throw a huge wrench into the game plan of IG. If we don't have Bin flashing on top of Soboro to secure a solo kill, constantly being a threat in the top side, Viper has a lot more pressure. Viper might not be picking up the 26k that he got this game.
Yeah, this guy's pretty good at League of Legends, and you know, in this game he wasn't particularly farming in the laning phase in terms of that kills that he was able to pick up, but I think that he was able to do a very good job in the lane at poking out his opponents and making sure that Photic and Jwei were really always pushed back and forced behind. I mean, you can see 5 deaths for a Kai'Sa. I know you've got to go in on this champion, but it's definitely not what you want to see usually.
Noticing that the kill participation from Knight this game a little bit lower than his regional record would indicate, and a lot of that likely having to do with how much was happening without him on the top side of the map. But in the mid game, he really made up for it. We talked about Knight, especially in fights around the Baron. He was playing so incredibly confidently that while I am pretty certain that the LPL will decide to give Viper the player of the game, I do not think Knight would be a bad choice for this one.
No, he played very well, and I think he got given a lot of team fights opportunities as well, and opportunities that he paid off and, you know, made pay, right, where he's given consistently a lot of free space to try to hit and try to get that damage down. And what does he do? He pumps out an insane amount of damage and carries 2 team fights where Viper gets taken off the face of the earth.
Nice play out of on the Nico from Jwei. Surprised that this pick didn't end up being more impactful. You and I talked about the Nico in the pregame. Just incredibly powerful first pick from IG in this game. And yet when it came to the later stages of it, we didn't really see Pop Blossoms having an insane effect. They were very infrequently multi-target and more often than not completely negligible to the course of the fight. Whether that is a wallet difference, whether that is an execution difference, not for me to say right now, but the Nico removed this time, I think, will be a question for IG whether they actually choose to pick it up again in the future.
Yeah, I think honestly, like, you probably still just have to take it. This pick is so good. I think that they've got a little bit of an argument to make for the fact that they got their bot lane ruined by an early gank by Jun, and then they could never really play the game from there. And as you talk about in the late game as well, they were already so far down the hole. The rest of the composition didn't really lend itself to being able to follow up in that aspect. And actually, player of the game goes to Bin, the person on their team who had, I think, 50% death participation or something crazy like that in this game, but some massive equalizers and a lot of pressure absorbed in the early stages of this game.
That equalizer cooldown was insanely low. It was up all the time, and for that alone, I might give him the player of the game. But I can't deny that Bin did really warp the shape of this game, because we talked about it during the Giga pause, that by the time that because Bin was winning his lane, he created a no-win situation for Jwei, where he could either go top side and ignore the compositional win condition, or he could go bot side and gamble that the game was over anyway. And so, while we may not have seen any insane score line out of Bin, warping the shape of the game around him and enabling his carries in that way, sure, I see the argument for player of the game, as I could for many people, because BLG won this game in such a convincing fashion that, to be honest, everyone looked pretty good. IG do have one more chance, however, to keep themselves in this series. It is that or go down 0-2 to BLG once more. What will happen? I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to take this break to think about it, and we'll see you on the other side.